A free-spirited bartender finds the rock to her role.
She wasn't expecting to fall in love with somebody else while he was gone.
She just had this glow about her. She had this perma-smile.
He treated her like a queen.
For me?
And it was just like he was a millionaire or something.
But the smile wears off when the money runs out.
Whenever it was good, it was good. When it was bad, it was bad.
It was very fast. It was very intense.
Better yet, get a job!
And it was like wildfire.
And they exploded all over the place.
That is definitely a scream that will live in my head forever.
You're gonna regret this.
Love may be blind and marriage bliss, but divorce is murder. It's New Year's Eve, 2009, and 22-year-old Cassie Galonen has a bad case of the blues. Her second marriage to a touring musician named Steve is in tatters.
Well, she loved him, but I don't think she liked it because she never got to see him. She was alone a lot.
That all changes when Cassie meets 31-year-old Brent Cotta.
Brent and Cassie met at a New Year's Eve party. Cassie was there just, I think, trying to have a good time.
You, sir, have exactly what I'm looking for.
Are you married?
My husband and I have an agreement.
They had decided to have an open relationship while he was gone. She thought maybe if she made the relationship open, that the relationship would last through the tour.
What kind of agreement?
Well, I can dance with strange men in bars, for starters.
He wasn't really her type because she had a type. And Brent was just this guy. He was a normal guy. He wasn't as, I don't know, weird as her.
That doesn't matter to Cassie or Brent. Their attraction is instantaneous.
It was very fast. It was very intense. And it was like wildfire.
Brent's divorced with 3 kids he has every other weekend.
He was a great father. He was very proud of his children.
Okay, so she's gonna be here any second, right? Now I want you all to be nice, okay? Because she's really cool and Daddy really likes her.
Okay.
Okay?
Cassie and Mr. Socks really like your daddy, too. Let's just hope that Mr. Socks likes the kids, or else deal's off.
So when Cassie met Brent, she met his kids, and they basically grew into each other.
I think he likes them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She loved that he was a family man. I think she loved that he was stable, that he had children already. She didn't have that Norman Rockwell family.
For Brent, who's a bit of a loner, hanging out with Cassie offers him the chance to break out of his shell.
Hey.
Hey. For me?
Well, unless you want them.
Go on, give them to me. Thank you. I think this calls for a little celebration, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah? You guys want to get it started? Let's do it.
Of course, she was a bartender, so she loved that lifestyle. It really helped him meet new people and meet her friends, and I think that helped him open up a lot.
All right, cheers, everyone.
Cassie was a ball of energy. She loved to make people laugh. She loved to shock people. She was just so outgoing and effervescent.
Oh my God, I love this song.
Brent, he really loved Cassie. That was evident. And she also loved that he loved her so much and that he was so accepting of her wildness and her fun.
Come on, come on.
She's got a huge personality. She did everything once and the cool things twice. But Brent was a quieter, you know, he was just kind of a more quiet.
Just weeks after she meets Brent, Cassie's husband Steve gets a break from his tour.
When Steve came back to town, Cassie was, you know, kind of in the midst of this relationship with Brent and was trying to figure out, you know, what she really wanted.
She wasn't expecting to fall in love with somebody else while he was gone, and that's what ended up happening.
Here was Brent, you know, stable in town, had a job, a family already.
I guess she thought about it, and she just packed up her stuff and she left.
And they ended up divorcing, and she went with Brent.
He already had this duplex, and she just moved in with him.
Go, 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 go.
Come on, come on.
She seemed really happy, and I think it was because he showered her with attention, with gifts. And I think that all had to do with he was living off of the expected settlement.
His mom had passed away, and they had a lawsuit going because of her death.
The settlement was supposed to be for a rather large amount. I had even heard 7 figures.
Oh my God, look at all this stuff.
He would buy her jewelry. He would take her on trips, expensive trips.
He bought her a new pool stick, a new computer, TV.
He bought her the latest iPhone at the time, or anything that she wanted, you know, he would go out and buy for her.
Are you serious?
Here, take it. It's
You're
yours.
spoiling me.
Steve already received an $8,000 settlement as part of a $1 million payout from a pharmaceutical company for the death of his mother.
The rest of that money's coming in soon.
But after a few months living together, some of their differences become too obvious to ignore. She's outgoing, he is not, especially online.
She loved social media. She was a social media junkie. She would post anything and everything on the spectrum because that's what she was. She was anything and everything.
What's this about a photo shoot?
Oh, let me show you my proofs.
My husband is a photographer, and so she contacted us and said, you know, I'd kind of like to do some risque photos.
I think you'll really like the one on the 4th page. It's a little risque, but it's the red outfit that you really like.
What are these?
They're the proofs for my portfolio.
Brent would prefer if Cassie were a little less revealing.
She wanted to be a member of this group called the Suicide Girls. It was just girls that were tattooed and had piercings and were different as far as mainstream society would consider them beautiful.
And Brent does not approve.
Your portfolio for what, the adult film industry?
This is art. It's not
I
pornography.
don't want you showing your art to the world, okay?
Psychotherapist Stacy Kaiser and forensic psychologist Brian Russell see a flame so bright it could burn out.
What fascinates me about Cassie is she's sort of this free-spirited wild child. And usually when people are free-spirited and sort of wild like that, you wouldn't think that they would want to keep making marital, long-term commitments like that, but she does.
I think she does want stability, but she's got an impulsive and wild personality, and so those two things are constantly battling with each other.
I think it's understandable then that she goes towards somebody who seems to want her a lot, but I wonder whether that won't get sort of smothering for her fairly quickly.
Hey.
Hey.
Come here.
I'm sorry I overreacted. I hope this makes up for it.
LA?
Yeah.
Oh my God! Oh, I love you!
The couple jets off to sunny California for some new ink.
How about a toast, Cass?
It's so fancy.
Cheers.
Yeah, I've been meaning to ask you something. Will you marry me?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Great. Yeah?
He bought her a very large engagement ring. I think it was like 2 carats, maybe. I remember seeing it and going, okay. He knew what to do as far as keeping her attention, keeping her right there. He pretty much was buying her, I guess. I guess, doesn't sound right, but I guess that's what it was.
There's something else that doesn't sound right. Bad news that changes everything.
Did I ever witness it? No. Do I think he did? Yes.
So I just remember her telling me that they showed up and the police were there.
After a whirlwind romance, 23-year-old Cassie leaves her second husband to marry 33-year-old Brent Cotta. Brent is expecting to receive millions of dollars in a settlement from a pharmaceutical company. Money he doesn't hesitate to spend on Cassie until the tap runs dry.
I know that he first thought it was going to be a huge amount of money.
A few million, about 4 or 5, I think. If my memory serves me right.
And when it come right down to it, and he finally got the settlement, it wasn't anywhere near that.
What's up, honey?
Brent learns that the $8,000 payout is all he's going to get.
It was much, much less than either of them anticipated, or at least that either of them led other people to believe.
Well, I guess no more diamond bathtub for Mr. Socks then.
After months of careless spending, Brent is deeply in debt.
It's hard to know exactly why Brent misconstrued the settlement. Maybe he had sort of created a fantasy in his head. Maybe he didn't thoroughly read paperwork or wasn't paying attention during a discussion. But the bottom line is, he did make conscious decisions to spend money that he didn't have, and that was a mistake.
I think there's also a possibility that he was exaggerating or even straight up fabricating it because he felt like he needed to be wealthier to keep Cassie.
If Cassie really is connecting with Brent because of the money he's spending on her, if that money goes away, the relationship could fall apart.
But Cassie immediately steps up.
She ended up pawning the computer that he bought her, the tablets that he bought her. She pawned the engagement ring. Pretty much everything that he bought her, she ended up selling. I think the only thing that she kept was the pool stick.
She just mentioned that she hoped that it really didn't affect much. Because to her, money, it wasn't about money. She just wanted a life with a husband and children. And
Hi.
And so, the couple elopes.
He got her name put on the inside of his ring finger, and she got his name put on her ring finger. She announced it on Facebook, and I was like, oh, that's nice. Congratulations.
They didn't go on no honeymoon or anything like that. I think they just went out to bars and just drank.
But the bad news keeps on coming. Brent's days in the oil and gas industry are getting longer and harder.
Those jobs, eventually you do wear out. You've got to be completely on your game all the time, or you just run a $500,000 well that company's responsible for.
To stay on his game, Brent finds a little chemical helper. Crystal meth.
He did it to stay awake. Because the more jobs you do, the more money you make and more bonuses you get. And to him, it was a way of staying awake and be able to do 4 or 5 jobs where most guys only do 1 or 2.
But the drug hinders, not helps, his performance.
He had gotten so bad at one point that they had to take him aside and slowly give him sips of water, and he began to respond.
Brent loses his job.
I think you come to the aspect that if he stayed there, then meth was going to be a huge part of his life, and he didn't want that.
Cassie doesn't want that either.
She was that conflicted person inside. Do I stay away because this seems to be progressing, or can I save him?
We're gonna make it work.
In her heart, she thought she could actually, at that point, save him.
We're gonna make it work.
That's when she started working more. She worked a lot of nights and some afternoons.
She still had a family to take care of, and I mean, she worked endlessly to make sure they had money for food, to make sure their bills were covered.
It's not enough. Within a few months, the Cottas are in over their heads.
He was paying his rent late. They ended up getting evicted.
They stay with friends until a new place comes through.
The owner of the bar that she was working at the time had an apartment for rent.
It wasn't as nice as the first one was. A little rundown and smaller. It was only 1 bedroom.
Brent, who's still reeling from being fired, then evicted, wallows in a sea of self-loathing and booze.
Really? Really?
Alcohol was his choice of drug.
I heard that alcohol was starting to consume him again.
The fact that Cassie's a bartender doesn't help matters.
Hey, barmaid, can I get a drink over here?
I'll be right back.
He just always was there. And she's still working all the time. And him sitting at the bar, getting drunk.
This one's not on the house.
He would just sit there. Of course, being a waitress in a bar, you've got to be bubbly, you've got to be a little flirty.
And he wasn't happy at all the guys that would come and just drink because she was there. Brent didn't like the attention she was getting from everybody else.
At this point, even her tips are starting to slip because Brent was literally like sitting at the bar, staring her down. And if he thought that a guy was looking at her, he would scoot over closer to intimidate them.
One person who seems impervious to Brent's presence is Cassie's new friend, Billy.
It wasn't anything serious. She was just having fun with him.
Cassie and Billy aren't just friends at the bar, they're also friends online, as Brent is horrified to discover.
Brent found out about this relationship and he was upset about it. He resented Billy and didn't want him in her life.
It was very obvious that he was jealous.
Hey, hon.
Billy, huh? Who is this guy? Who is this guy?
Are you creeping me?
I asked you a question!
Are you creeping me?
I asked you a question!
You better get out of my face or else I'm gonna lose it, okay?
I'm going outside for some air.
Do it. Do whatever you want.
Things got heated with Cassie and Brent, and I think it got a little out of control.
Hey! How long have you been sleeping with him? How long
Get
have
away!
you been sleeping with him?
Better yet, get a job.
Don't you walk away
Leave
from
me alone!
Get off of me! Come here! Get off of me!
Girl!
She had a temper on her, and she was a fighter.
I'm warning you! I'm warning you!
You're gonna regret this.
Well, I think the neighbor is the one that called because she had to crawl over there because he had beaten her so bad.
For Cassie, it's the final straw.
She said we had a fight and it got out of hand, and I will never let him lay hands on me again.
Another for good luck?
They had thought that maybe he was the last person that she was with.
Cassie and Brent Cotta have been together less than 2 years, but already these two passionate young hotheads have come to blows. In December 2011, Cassie decides she's had enough. She wants a divorce.
I don't even want to hear about it.
She said we had a fight and it got out of hand, and I will never let him lay hands on me again.
Brent better not be here when I get off work tonight.
She did tell me she was leaving him because she didn't want to do it anymore.
I just pray that she was strong enough to do what she needed to do.
Cassie, can we talk? Cass. Gross.
But nothing much changes in the Cotta household.
Because Christmas was so close, he played on her heartstrings. You know, what about my kids? You know, I don't have any place to go. And so she was like, okay, you can come back and, you know, we're still divorcing.
Mr. Socks. Mr. Socks. Come on.
And they hadn't gotten a divorce, but they were basically separated, but still living in the same house.
And that's what led up to everything.
I'm not really surprised that Cassie is the first one to move on. I mean, Brent really has no life at this point.
Usually when two people decide to get divorced, the last thing they want to do is stay under the same roof together. And so it's interesting to me that Brent wants to stay under the same roof with Cassie. So he probably thought that staying under the same roof with her gave him the best chance of preventing her from moving on. Long enough, hopefully, to him to get her back.
And this does worry me because of the alcohol abuse, because of the jealousy, because of the violence. Those things are still all in play, even though the two of them decided to split up. And so that combination can be literally a deadly mix.
Christmas comes and goes, and so does Mr. Socks.
Mr. Socks? Mr. Socks? Mr. Socks!
Sorry, Cass. I let him out of the house for a pee like usual. I'm sure he'll be back soon.
That was her baby. She loved Mr. Socks. And then he just disappeared one day.
Mr. Socks? Mr. Socks?
Cassie is devastated. Brent is too, but for an entirely different reason. Cassie is spending less and less time at home.
2S. Woo! Woo! Woo!
She had left him at her house to visit with his kids, but he didn't like that, and he started drinking.
He's texting her, trying to just say, hey, can you come spend time with me?
Another for good luck. It's my stupid ex calling me again.
She didn't have intentions on going home anytime soon, but he weared her down to the point where she was like, okay, I'm coming.
Hi, guys.
Cassie does go home, but it's not to see Brent.
Hey, you came home.
Not for you, because this is ridiculous. I came for my tequila. I'll see you later.
Where are you going? Where are you going?
To a party with Billy, if you must know.
Cass.
He still very much wanted Cassie in his life. He still wanted to be married, and he was fighting to keep her, and she was not interested.
Trying Cassie for hours. She's not at work yet. Is she there?
Hang on. Cassie! Cassie! No, she's not here.
If she shows up, tell her she's late for work.
Yeah, okay.
And Brent called me at 4:30 and said, hey, have you seen Cassie?
She's not at work and she didn't come home last night.
What? You two had a fight again.
No. I'll talk to you later, okay?
No matter how crazy the night before was, she always worked. And she didn't show up, and that was when it got a little weird.
And I started calling her cell phone and went straight to voicemail.
This is Cassie, think fast.
And I kept texting and calling and calling and texting till the point it was full.
Nobody's seen her since Friday night.
So everybody just really got this sinking feeling that something was terribly wrong that was close to her. Because there was no activity on Facebook, there was no communication at all.
I want to report my daughter missing.
The police can't help.
And at this point in time, technically she wasn't missing for 24 hours.
New Year's Eve it's a full-blown excuse to have a wild party. Maybe she had too much that night. Maybe she lost her phone. Maybe she doesn't want to talk to anyone.
Her friends and family know something is wrong.
We handed out flyers, went from door to door. We all were separated in our groups.
Brent is with them too, every step of the way.
Everybody came together, and a lot of her friends and a lot of my friends, and we just set up a point and just started searching.
I was wondering if we could leave these here.
He looks completely distraught. He had these bags that was underneath his eyes. It was just so black, and you could just tell that he was completely messed up, out of his mind. He was like, no, I just want my wife back.
We just wanted to come home safe. That's all we're focused on. The world is out there, but we need to look further. Please, help us.
Everyone pitches in, except Cassie's new friend Billy, who is nowhere to be found.
They had thought that maybe he was the last person that she was with.
But before they can track Billy down, they'll make one very sinister discovery.
Somebody's like, that looks like a fresh grave.
You could tell by her concern that she really felt like something was wrong.
Nobody's seen Cassie Cotta for 2 days, and her husband Brent is part of a huge search party desperate to find her. The last person to see her, Billy, is not. And the search is about to take a disturbing turn.
Somebody's like, that looks like a fresh grave. But it was a dog, it was buried.
Speculation is that it's Cassie's dog, Mr. Socks. But the animal is too far gone to tell. Cassie's family is frantic.
Hey, how are you? Okay? I'm gonna tell them everything, all right? I'll talk to you later.
Pearl, Cassie's mother, shows up at the police department and is like, I know there's something wrong.
The police turn to Brent for any information he might have.
When was the last time you saw Cassie?
She left with this Billy guy on Friday night. I asked her to stay, but she left anyway. It's all there.
Brent's condition at that point, he was really just worn down, tired, just broken. Brent said that she went with Billy to a party in Alma.
I am worried about Cassie. I mean, in some ways, she's entangled with two men. She has Brent and she has Billy. It can't be easy for Billy that she is still living with Brent, and it can't be easy for Brent because she's moved on awfully quickly and he's still tied up with her.
In this particular case, Cassie's family believes, for whatever reason, that this is not just Cassie's sort of normal unpredictability, spur of the moment planning kind of thing. They're concerned. And I think that that is worth listening to because they know Cassie and they know that something is off, particularly that she's such an open book on social media, and yet during this particular time, she seems to have gone dark even there.
Cassie has a lot of people searching for her. It almost seems like the whole community. And what that tells me is that she was really liked and cared about.
The fact that Brent is an active participant in the search for Cassie reflects one of two things. Either he is desperately worried about her and had nothing to do with it, or he is putting on a big act to appear that way when, in fact, he knows a lot more than he's revealing.
When police check Cassie's social media accounts, they make an ominous discovery. Her last message to Billy suggests their date did not end well.
There was a message, an ugly message from her to him.
This is over, don't talk to me anymore, stay away from me.
3 days after Cassie disappears, police finally track down Billy.
We found him, interviewed him, of course, because at that point it was pointing to this man being the last person seen or known with Cassie.
Billy admits to going to a party that night, but says Cassie didn't go with him.
You're sleeping with her.
Dude, she's married. Okay, we were just friends. I didn't even send her that text.
If that's true, who did? And where is Cassie?
You know, Billy was kind of taken aback that, look, you know, I have nothing to hide. Yeah, here it is. Here's my phone. Here's the messages.
Knock yourself out. Honestly, it was all innocent.
They weren't in that kind of relationship where they would have anything to fight about.
Billy's alibi, that he went to the party alone, checks out.
He's still technically a suspect, but we were kind of moving on at that point.
Police shift their attention back to the other man in Cassie's life, Brent. He and Cassie documented their every move on social media. Investigators are about to discover what really happened to Cassie Kaiser.
There's no reason for anybody to be out that way. There's no houses, there's no buildings.
Cassie pulled a knife.
Three days after Cassie Kaiser goes missing, police are at an impasse. So they take a second look at the breadcrumb trail she and her estranged husband left on social media.
We requested Brent's phone records and we requested Cassie's phone records. We were able to determine that they had left that night, both of them, and went out near the river in Crawford County.
Cell towers indicate that Brent's phone made the trek back home, but Cassie's did not.
So we got a little group of detectives and went out and started looking around. There's no houses, there's no buildings, there's no reason for anybody to be out that way. So we could see that they had both gone out that way, and then Cassie stayed and Brent came home. We started looking, and then we were just like, there's just no way. There's no way 10 people are gonna search this area and find anything.
All right, let's go. Let's just get out of this. Just go. Just do it. Let's go.
Instead, they turn their attention to Brent and Cassie's apartment.
It was a pretty dirty apartment, and it had obviously not been cleaned. And one thing I noticed is on the back of the bedroom door, like a dent in the door, and there's head hair stuck in the cracks, and it's long brown hair, which is what Cassie had.
More hair is found in the trunk of Brent's car.
And so we photographed that and collected some of the hair out of it to send off to the crime lab to be analyzed.
I think we got it.
Upstairs neighbors report hearing the couple fighting that night, around the time Cassie would have gotten home from the bar.
Brent had told me that he stayed home after Cassie left and never left, never went anywhere. So I talked to the neighbor. She told me that Cassie had came home the night that she went missing, and that she could hear the two of them arguing. And then it stopped. After 30 minutes or so, Brent's vehicle was backed up to the door of their apartment. That was a big deal, that she had heard them fighting and that they had seen him leave, and the car was backed up to the door. So went and got Brent and brought him to the police department.
Look, I'm not asking you to confess. Just help us locate the body. For her mom. For her family.
Just kind of played on his emotions and played on his feelings, and it worked out. Basically, I told him I didn't want him to confess to a murder. I just wanted him to take me to the body so we can get her buried and do the proper thing with her.
All right. I'll show you.
It's through here.
The detective called me and he said, we have found your daughter's body.
I'm so sorry.
And then he looked at me, he said, Pearl, look at me. And he goes, Pearl, Brent took us to her. And I just looked at him, I'm like, what do you mean? And he said, Pearl Brent killed her.
No!
That is definitely a scream that will live in my head forever. It was terrible. I knew right away when I heard that they had found her.
A lot of emotions that day. Anger, sadness, guilt. I mean, I ran the gauntlet of emotions that day. It was tough.
Faced with all this evidence, Brent is taken into custody, where he confesses to killing Cassie. He claims it was self-defense.
He was trying to get Cassie to come back home, and finally she agreed. And they get into an argument in the house.
Came back.
Not for you. See you later.
Where are you going?
To a party with Billy, if you must
No,
know.
you're not. No, you're not. No, you're not.
Don't touch me! You know what?
Stop.
I've had enough
Cass.
of your crap.
Stop! Get off! Yes! Get off of me! Cass. Cass!
And he said he tried to revive her and couldn't.
But the coroner says otherwise. It was strangulation, pure and simple.
You came back.
Not for you. I'll see you later.
Where are you going?
I'm going to a party with Billy, if you must know.
No, you're not. You're my wife, and we are celebrating tonight together!
And then he put her in the vehicle and, you know, took the body to where we found her.
Then, pretending to be Cassie, Brent messaged Billy.
He wouldn't admit to strangle her. He did admit to sending messages back and forth from him to her and her to him on their phones.
The motive is an old one.
To me, it seems like he got the mentality, if I can't have you, nobody can.
I do not think that Brent woke up that morning thinking he was going to kill his wife. And I think that he strangled her and had no idea that he was snuffing out such a beautiful life that he really did love.
I think that it was premeditated. He had to get his ex-wife to come and pick up his children, and I don't think anybody would ever be able to change my mind on that.
You look back and you just think, wow, who does that? Who does that?
Mr. Socks. Mr. Socks.
Some speculate he even killed Mr. Socks.
I think he may have done something to the dog, but I know he buried him and gave her a story.
I personally think he killed Mr. Socks. To me, he seemed dangerous.
3 weeks before going to trial, prosecutors make a deal. In exchange for a 30-year sentence, Brent Cotta pleads guilty to first-degree murder.
I know he didn't get a life sentence, but he'll be an old man by the time he does get out of jail.
Sometimes what happens in a relationship is one partner begins to see the other partner as something they own. And I think that Brent felt that he owned Cassie. And in owning her, she should have complied and listened to what he wanted and not gone after other men and all of that other stuff. And since she didn't meet his criteria, he ultimately decided that if he wasn't gonna get her, no one else would, and he decided to kill her. But he was still really sad and distraught that she was no longer around.
And often people say, well, what does that mean? You know, they're crying, does that mean that they really didn't have anything to do with it? And I always say, you can not really judge much based upon an expression of emotion. Just because it may be a genuine expression of emotion doesn't mean we know what it's about. You could have an expression of genuine sadness about the fact that someone is missing. You could have also an expression of genuine sadness about the fact that you know any minute you're likely to be caught and spend the rest of your life in prison.
Some have forgiven Brent for taking Cassie's life, and some have not.
He may be in prison, but the rest of us are also suffering, and we suffer every day.
Yeah, I just kept on calling her phone over and over and hoping that she was gonna answer the phone and listening to her voicemail, and kept on leaving voicemails begging her to call me back because I just didn't believe it. I didn't want to believe it.
She had a tattoo down her side that says, "When everything was beautiful and nothing hurt." You know, I put that on her tombstone. I know now what she means.